Hey guys, welcome back to another Coding Santa video. Today we'll be going over input and output using Java Scanner and how we can use that to our advantage to create interactive programs. Let's dive into the coding. Check out the description page for the resources we used and more information about the video. We have the GitHub link for our code linked below, which gives us the code that I have programmed in this video. Okay, now let's start into the coding. So we have our file code input_output.java, and we're in the public class input_output. We're going to be coding in the public static void main. Okay, so let's start. So remember, when we want to take input in Java, Java does not automatically build the methods in. So what we have to do if we want to take input is import java.util.scanner. So once we import java.util.scanner, we can use the scanner method and we can create a scanner object which allows us to take input. So we must import java.util.scanner before we want to take any input or do input/output in Java. From here, we have to create our scanner object. So scanner, we can name our scanner anything. I will name mine keyboard. Scanner keyboard equals new scanner system.in. Let's move this out a little bit. System.in. Okay, so now we have created our scanner object. This is going to be called keyboard. So when we call the scanner method, we will use keyboard dot. Okay, so let's start off. How is this going to work? So first, let's prompt the user to input something. So let's system.out.print. Please input a number. And so the user can input a number. Let's make it println so it goes, keep it as print. So now the user is going to input a number. And then so when the user inputs a number into the terminal, how are we going to take in this number? So we can use keyboard/scanner methods. Example of this, let's first start with next int. So this takes an integer in. So whatever's inputted, this method takes the next integer in line. So let's start off with, let's call our integer, call our number. Int number equals to keyboard, the name of our scanner, dot next int. This is one of these scanner methods, next int. So what this will do is that when the user inputs a number, the nearest integer, or the integer that's next in line, will be taken in by keyboard and stored into the value of number. So let's test it out to make sure it works. Let's system.out.print. Let's first print ln to give us a new line. Then let's system.out.print. And we will print number. Remember, we do not use quotations because this is not a literal, this is a variable. So what should happen is that whatever we input should be outputted on another line. So now let's make our terminal bigger. We'll call Java C input output.java. And then Java input output. See what happens here? It asks you to please input a number, and we will input 15. It should output 15 on another line. And it outputs exactly 15, as the 15 number here is taken in by scanner and inputted into number. So now let's go back into coding. So the value of number is now whatever is inputted. So we can try something else. We can ask the user to input a double. So we'll say, ask them to input a decimal. And then we'll call our variable called decimal equals to keyboard. Instead of next int, we'll be using next double, which is taking in the nearest double, or the double that the scanner reads first, that the user inputs. So this is similar to next int, except it scans and tries to find a double instead of an integer. So something that has a decimal. So let's print another line and then print our decimal value. Okay, let's see what happens here. Let's Java C input output.java to compile it, and then now we will run it here. Let's see what happens here. Oh, this is the error that you should avoid while trying to copy and paste. We named our int of decimal. We entered our decimal of type int instead of type double when we're taking next double. And so the system detects an error here. So let's change this to double, because in the next double it stores in the double data type. So let's try that again. We'll compile it, make sure there are no errors. And now let's run it. Input, output. Okay, so remember this is the first one, so this one should be inputting an int. Let's input 19, should print 19. And we can work on the formatting later. And asks us to please input a decimal. So let's see what we can do here. Let's input 15.69. It should output 15.69. Okay. Now I'll add println. I will be adding println to the printing to make the formatting better. Okay, now we can move on to different type of next methods. So now let's try one of the string methods. So this is not exactly a string method, but if you do keyboard.next, this just takes the next value, which could be an int, it could be a double, but mostly people use it for string because there is no specific method for strings. Okay, system.out.print, please enter a string. And let me lower and move this to the side. So now we're prompting the user to input a string, and then we'll call our string input equals to keyboard.next. So next just takes the next thing that the keyboard sees. So once a space is written, then it stops. So example of this is not coding, this is just a note. If it's coding Santa, then it takes coding and not the Santa part because the space separates it. Okay, so now let's system.out.print it. We will print our input. Okay, now let's move here. Java C input output .java. Let's see if it compiles, if there's any errors. There's no errors, and now let's run it. Java input output. So these are just the previous methods we wrote earlier. 15 should return 15, 19.21 should return 19.21, and I want to enter a string. So let's see what happens when we enter Bob Jones. It returns Bob. This is because .next, this returns the next in line. So when the keyboard starts reading, it starts reading from here, where my mouse is, and it reads the first thing, Bob. And so now .next, it reads the next thing. So once Bob is read, it closes the method, and Jones is just ignored because it's not part of the next. So that's how next works. Okay, to conclude, we've gone over how to use scanner in Java. We start by importing java.util.scanner and creating our scanner object. We've gone over 3 of the major scanner methods in detail, and there are many others that implement the same next concept. This includes things such as next long and next short and many others. So now that we know these, we can make very complicated programs that can take input, output, and interact with the user. Thanks for watching this video. Consider like, commenting, and subscribing. See you in the next video, and I hope you enjoyed this one.